Welcome back to the RHB Podcast. We are in a new setting with a new face, which is really exciting. We're joined by Seth, who is a student at BYU in the business program. He reached out to us a couple of days ago to say, hey, I found you guys on Instagram, social media. Love what you guys have built and done. Is there any way I could sit down with Kory, the owner, to ask him some questions is it for an assignment or is it?
Yeah, it's for an assignment. Kind of just slid into the DMs and was like, hey, I need help with my grade.
And Kory, being the opportunist that he is, and because he loves the podcast so much.
Definitely.
He was like, hey, maybe we could just make this a podcast, which is a great idea. So hopefully you all at home will learn something from Seth's questions, and Seth will get what he needs as well. So without further ado, I'll just hand it over to Seth to do this.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, first off, thanks for meeting with me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
This is awesome. Like, we were talking beforehand, should have saved these questions for this, but like, my family's background is construction. Kory's is too, and I've always been interested in that kind of realm of business. And when I saw the Instagram, I saw the cool houses y'all were building and all the things that you were doing. And then I read up as well, and I read that you were named one of the Pro Builder magazine's 40 under 40. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like 2 years ago I was, yeah.
And so for those that don't know, what is that?
So it's pretty much like, it's a recognition that the Pro Builder magazine is a nationwide magazine, and each year they come out and they do a 40 under 40. 40 individuals in the country that are under 40 years old that are excelling in the industry. It's something you get nominated for. So I was nominated by, I don't know who, a peer, someone that knows me or knew of us, and then Pro Builder magazine picks the 40 that they like. So every year they come out with a 40 under 40. So I think I was in the 40 under 40. I think it was 2 years ago, like 2022 or 2023.
Okay.
So it was cool. It was a cool accomplishment. Like, it's cool to see that, what we're doing is, being recognized like nationwide. It's not just here in Utah. So, I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that must be pretty cool too, because Robison,
yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Home Builders is a family company, right?
Yep.
Like, your dad was the one that started it?
Yep. So my dad started it back in 1980. So it's been around for a long time.
Okay. And
before I was even born.
That's cool. And how did that come about?
All I know is from stories, but he was at BYU in the construction management program, and also working for, which would be his brother-in-law, which was my mom's brother, who was a general contractor. He was working for him at the time, and just kind of realized that he loved working with his hands. He loved being outside, and working in an office just wasn't really his jam. And so he kind of just dove right into it. It's kind of a standing joke in our family that he didn't finish college. He kind of got to about a year left and said, I can just go out and learn. And unfortunately, I followed in the same footsteps, but I did go to school. But so yeah, he kind of just found what he loved and just kind of took it from there. And it took a lot of time, obviously a lot of years, to kind of get where he was when he retired, and then obviously where the company's at today.
Yeah. And looking back, obviously it's come a long ways.
Yes, it has. It has.
But what do you think were the things that your father did to set the foundation for what the company is today?
I think, the thing that I learned from him the most, that I try to instill in myself and in all my employees, is just hard work. Like, there's nothing in this world that can beat hard work. And not acting like we're above, or even me acting like I'm above anything. Like, I will still grab a broom and go sweep out a job site. I will still help clean up the job sites. I'm not above anything that any of my employees do. And so I feel like that's kind of the one thing that he instilled in me, which, I've kind of passed on and tried to instill with all my employees.
And just a quick note, Gene will also grab a broomstick.
Yeah.
Still on job sites today, and will still do anything that he can get his hands on in the job site. So
yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, I think that's the epitome of what a leader is, just like leading from the front instead of sitting back and dictating, right?
I agree.
And so you've been around home building for your whole life, basically.
My whole life.
And so you grew up around it, but what was the moment that you knew, like, okay, I want this to be my career?
Oh gosh, it was probably right before I got married. Like you said, I grew up in it. I did it my whole life. I was around it my entire life. I hated it as a kid. I've mentioned multiple times, I was always the cleanup kid. I was always, hey, we're going to the job site, Dad, hey, grab a dumpster while I go walk around, and I cleaned up the job site. So I hated it growing up. In college, I worked at a ski shop. I was kind of a ski bum. And I just I worked at that ski shop for like 10 years. So I worked at the ski shop, and I kind of realized that I can't do this for a living. At the same time, I was starting to date my soon-to-be wife, and just realized that this being a ski bum, skiing every day of my life, is not going to get me what I want in life. So I approached my dad. I knew it's kind of all I knew. I knew I liked working outside. I knew I loved to, build things, and I loved working with my hands. So it kind of just came to a point where I was like, well, it's really my only option. So here we go. Let's jump into it and see where it goes.
Okay. And so after that, you were at UVU, mm-hmm. right? And you were in the construction management program, and you said you didn't finish?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I spent 3 years at UVU, and I'm just not a good student. And I know that's such a cop-out, but I just have a really hard time. And my parents would attest to this. All my teachers growing up, I have a very hard time sitting in class, reading from a book, and listening to someone teach me something. I'm more of a much hands-on learner. I love to see things. I have to use my hands to learn. And so about 3 years into my college life, I was just like, you know what? And at the same time, I was in college. I was dating my wife. I was also working on the framing crew for our company. And so I was going to school at night. I was framing during the day. And I just got to a point, I was like, man, I am learning more at work than I am at school. And I'm paying my way to be at school. So it just, I don't love talking about this too much and going into detail, because I don't want people to think like, oh, I'm just going to drop out of school and go start my own company. It's not that. That was just what was best for me and how I learn and how I grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, you were also learning that industry your whole life.
Yep.
Like, it's not like one day you're like, okay, construction.
I'm just going to build houses, yeah.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I kind of had a shoe into a company, right? Like, I'm the only boy in my family. I have 3 sisters. The company wasn't going to go to the second generation unless I stepped in. And so I saw a perfect shoe in, and I just felt like school just was not my thing.
Mm-hmm. And so what was that process like for you stepping in as president for the company?
Gosh, it was big shoes to fill. I very much look up to my dad and what he did and what he started. And when he decided to kind of give me the reins, it was a lot to take in. I felt like I just had to put my head down and work my tail off and do anything and everything that I could. My wife would attest that I was up at 5 a.m. almost every morning, and I didn't go to bed till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, because I was doing something for the company for those first few years when he kind of gave me the reins and we were trying to grow and scale.
Dang. Yeah, that reminds me, like, you talked about how you can outwork anyone, and like working hard is what the company is about. Mm-hmm. And there's a book that I'm reading currently. It's called The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. And it's just like, you can always outwork the other people, but you also have to work smart. Yep. And so I want to shift now to kind of like the business side of things. Okay. So like, walk us through the process of what it takes to build custom homes.
Starting with like a client, like how that interaction works. So we get leads multiple ways. Either people, talk to a friend or family that's built with us. They talk to architects that we've worked with, or they see us on social media. Or the Parade of Homes. Those are probably the 4 ways that we get inquiries. So someone calls, I kind of go through the very basics of, our pricing structure, how I like to run things. And then if they don't have an architect at that point, I try to hook them up with an architect that I like to work with. I have 3 to 5 architects that I work with on a daily basis. And I refer them to them, let the client kind of interview and figure out who's going to be their best fit. Because everyone's got different styles. Architects have different styles. And so I don't want to be the one that tells a homeowner, you have to use this guy. I want them to be able to pick and choose who they want. And I do the same process with interior designers, 3 or 4 that we like to work with. You pick and interview which ones you like. So then the client goes in, they pick who they want. The team is kind of assembled at that point. The builder's on board, the architect, the interior designer, and then typically a landscape designer gets involved as well. And then I tell the clients, hey, go design your home. I don't care what your home looks like. I do not care what style of home that we build, but I do like to be involved in some of the design meetings because it helps keep everything in budget.
Mm-hmm.
When an architect is just drawing a set of plans, they can't be relied upon to draw what's exactly in the client's budget. So I like to be a sounding board because the client also doesn't know. They don't know what things cost. They just want the prettiest, most beautiful house ever, and so does the architect. So I like to be the sounding board that says, okay, like that can fit in your $2 million budget, or hey, that house cannot fit in your $3 million budget. Like we need to either redesign or we need to up the budget.
Yeah.
And then plans get drawn, and then I take them and I bid them out. I send the plans to each of my subcontractors. I compile a bid. And then, we go into building of the home.
Nice. I think that's a pretty good walkthrough for everything.
Yeah.
And so from what I understand, you manage quite a few different projects at once.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you manage multiple projects while maintaining those high quality standards that you're known for, that get you featured in Parade of Homes, which for those of you who don't know, Parade of Homes in Utah it's
a big deal.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, yeah. Yeah. Oh man, this is actually one that we try to perfect on a daily basis. I'm not perfect at it. By no means is our team perfect at it, but for the early years of my career, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I had a really hard time like letting go of the control. Like I wanted to be in charge and run every project. I wanted my employees to run every little thing by me, and it just got to a point where I was overwhelmed. Like I literally couldn't handle all the information. And so I've had to trust my employees. I've had to trust the people that I've assembled to be part of the RHB team to be an extension of me, and how I think and what I want to see. And it's taken some time to get to this point, but I can say now, I had a team meeting this morning with all my employees, and I told my guys, I was like, I finally feel like we're at a point where like everyone is on the right track. Everyone is killing it. And I truly feel like my employees are an extension of me.
That's awesome. I've interviewed a few different business owners, and it always comes back to the people that they surround themselves with. And so what do you look for in team members or people you work with?
Yeah. I'm very much about like the culture of like everyone that works with me and works for me. Like I want everyone to, when we're together, it's fun. Everyone enjoys being together, because if I look at them like, man, we do this all day, every day. If we don't like who we're working with and who we're working for, life is just miserable and life is too short. Obviously, they have to have some qualifications. I look for guys that have experience, that know the building trade. But I also look for guys that are teachable and moldable, so I can kind of teach them how I like things to be done, and kind of, teach them the way that, my dad taught me.
Yeah.
I will say like, the thing from my experience that makes RHB so special is the people. And so Kory has done a fantastic job at finding that exact person that you just described. Building a home, the product that we provide can be like an extremely stressful thing for our clients. It's also like the most expensive thing they'll ever purchase, and one of the most exciting things they'll ever purchase. And I think RHB does a really good job not to neglect that third part, that it's really exciting, and to make sure that people have fun and enjoy the build. That's kind of the slogan that Kory has incorporated underneath our RHB, is enjoy the build. And so you'll see, we have a great time. Like, people love working for Kory and working for this company. Again, it starts from the top and works its way down to all his guys, even through to the clients. And it's cool. It's really cool how he's done it.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to leading from the front. And was that something you learned, or like how has your leadership style evolved since you stepped into this business?
Oh, man, I've always, it's funny. I don't know what it is about my personality, but I remember even growing up, like my teachers, even in like elementary school, my teachers would always tell my parents, like, we don't understand why, but Kory's always the leader of the class. And I don't know what it is about my personality, but it is. So I've always just naturally had the ability to like be a leader. But the biggest thing that I've had to learn to do is, like I just mentioned, is kind of like let go of the reins a little bit. I can't do everything, and I have to rely upon my employees. And I'd like to hear what Jack has to say, because Jack obviously is one of my employees and he can attest to what my leadership is like. But I'm kind of, I don't want to say hands off, but I want my employees to be themselves and be their creative selves and figure out how to do things instead of having to call me and ask me every single little detail or every single little question. Mm-hmm. So I do kind of have a hands-off approach. We learn as we go, and if mistakes are made, it's unfortunate, but mistakes are going to be made. But I just ask my employees, like, don't make that mistake again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as Kory's head of marketing, I do things which Kory hasn't done, like set up a podcast.
Like this room that we're sitting in.
And so I always thought, man, I've lucked out because Kory, one, doesn't know much about what I do, therefore he has trust in me. But I realized very quickly that it's not just because he doesn't have the expertise that I have in my field that he manages and leads me the way that he does, because he leads and manages all the other guys in the exact same way, even though he has the expertise that they also have, right? So, and it comes down to just trust. And I think Kory has absolutely figured out that when somebody feels like they're trusted and valuable, they perform 10x than if it was any other way. And so every guy that works for Robison will say, I love that Kory doesn't micromanage me and that he trusts me, because it makes me feel good about myself and makes me feel confident that I can get the job done. And then, yeah, the absolute key is just falling fast and getting up, and the way you respond to setbacks that will inevitably happen.
It's inevitable. Mistakes will happen. Like I said, if a mistake happens, it's not the end of the world, but we just got to figure out how to fix it, and let's just make sure we don't make that mistake again.
Exactly. Yeah. It's awesome.
I think that's a great concept that a lot of business people can learn from, is just trusting the people that you surround yourself with and kind of just teaching them how to govern themselves.
Well, I look at it as like, if I can't let go and like let them manage themselves, like what's the point? Like, why do I need them? If I'm just going to manage them and do everything for them, like I don't need them. Yeah. And it's just more on my plate.
And there is a great balance as well, because I don't feel like I have no accountability in my job. So that's the danger, right, of that style of leadership, is people feeling like there's no accountability. I can do whatever I want because Kory just doesn't micromanage me, lets me do whatever I want. Kory has standards of excellence that he draws into his people, and they know what they have to achieve. It's just that he doesn't hold their hand as they get there, but he makes sure that we get there. And I even, like I said, in my area of field, what he's hired me for, he doesn't know how to do what I do, but he sets high standards of excellence that I know I've got to achieve so that I can feel accomplished at the end of the day or the month.
Yeah, I think those standards of excellence definitely show in the projects that you do, the homes that you do as well. And so talking about client relations now, what's the key to keeping your clients happy?
That's a good question. No, I care very much about that. We are not perfect by any means, but it is probably the number one thing that I drill into every one of my employees, is if when we're building a home for someone, like Jack said, they're spending a lot of money, most money they've probably ever spent in their life on one thing. If we get to a job and we are not friends and we do not have a good relationship with that client, we have failed. And I'll tell you, we have failed. We are not perfect. We have failed in the past, but I take those failures as a way to learn and a way to teach, and a way to kind of figure out our process and figure out how we can do better. So yeah, my whole thing of building a home is I just want someone, whoever I'm building for, like I want them to have a good experience. Because if they have a good experience, they're going to tell their next door neighbor, they're going to tell their brother, they're going to tell their family, hey, we loved building with Robison. Like, you should build with them. And that's the best type of client that I could potentially, a new referral that I could potentially get.
Mm-hmm. Smart. And so with those client relations, obviously there's some clients that will come in with these lofty expectations, but how do you manage the client's expectations during the whole process? Because obviously there will be things that happen, whatever. So how do you manage that?
I think the way that we've found to manage it is just be as straightforward and honest as possible. For instance, hey, some client, they decided they wanted to do this really high-end tile out of Italy. Cool, let's do it, but just understand that is out of budget. I did not budget for you to import this Italian marble for your tile bathroom. Sweet, if you want it, let's do it. If you don't want to pay X amount of dollars to do it, then here's 5 other options that we can do. So it's all about just being not brutally honest, but being honest and telling the clients, hey, this is how it is, but here's other options in case you don't want to spend X amount of dollars on that marble tile or whatever it may be.
Yeah, so just like clear communication.
Yep, clear communication and just being precise and just following through. If you tell your client you're going to do something, follow through and do it.
Yeah.
And I think there's another element to it as well, which is like confidence in your own ability. Like when you talk about managing somebody's expectation, like if they come to you and they say that you want something, you have to be confident in what you know and what your skill set is to be able to answer and to manage that, or to say like we can do it or we can't do it. And so the guys and Kory have a lot of confidence in their skill as well.
Yeah, it shows in the homes as well. Like I said, I found y'all on social media, stalked it a little bit, saw
I love
all
to
the
hear
work.
that. I was really happy to hear
right
that you found us through social media.
That's right.
That's really cool.
Alley.
Yeah, and I've seen some cool things, and obviously like that Italian marble or the tile or whatever it was, like that's a unique request. But what's the coolest or most unique request you've had from a customer?
I had there's a lot. I could go on for days, but I think one of the most interesting and coolest thing that we've ever done, it was the very first job that I ran by myself. It was the first job that my dad gave me the responsibility. Hey, Kory, this is your job, start to finish, figure it out. It's a cool remodel up here in Provo, and the homeowner loved like the Zen feel, and we put a koi pond in his master bedroom. Legitimate. There is a koi pond with live fish in this. And when I say master bedroom, it's like a master wing. It's not right by their bed by any means. But there's a legitimate koi pond with fish in it in this client's master bedroom. And at the time, I was 25 years old, and he's like, hey, I want to do this. And I was like, bro, I literally have no idea how to build a pond inside your home. But it was cool. Like we had to really stretch and figure out how to do it. And I was actually up at this house. We were doing something for them like a year ago, and I went in and it's still there, and there's still fish, and they're alive, and it's not leaking. So it's been 10 years and it's still there.
So you did well.
Yeah, we're still going, so we're good. We're good.
I need one now in my
house.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Like people, and that's honestly like that is probably one of my, if not the most cool and rewarding thing about this job and what we do is that like the clients get these like cool ideas and they're like, I want this. And we're just like, okay, like let's figure out how to do it. Let's figure out how to put a koi pond in your master bedroom. Let's figure out how to build this crazy rock climbing wall that you can fall off into a foam pit or whatever it may be, because like that's what makes my job fun. That's what makes what we do fun, and I actually enjoy going to work every day because we get to solve really cool problems.
It's so cool because when you get to that level, when you're not just building spec homes, and I can't afford a spec home right now. One day I will, so I'm not dogging on spec homes.
Cookie cutter, yeah.
But what I'm saying is when you get to the level of the homes that Robison Home Builders build, Kory and the guys that run the jobs are enablers for like expression of creativity. Like people come up with these crazy ideas. I want a koi pond in my master wing or whatever it might be. We're doing a whole bunch of incredible things for our parade home this year.
Yeah.
And Kory's like that it's this company that like enables people's creativity to come to life, and that's a super fulfilling thing. It's like a really creative. People don't think a construction company or a home builder company is creative, but it is way up there with probably one of the most creative professions you could do.
Yeah, I would have never have, growing up and in my younger years, I would never, and I still don't, but I've been asked like, man, were you like really artistic when I was younger? I was like, no, not at all. Like I literally can barely draw a stick figure, but it's really fun. I love problem solving, and I love trying to figure out like how the heck are we going to do that? Mm-hmm. And I think that is the most fulfilling part of what we do.
Nice. And I'm just out of my own interest, like obviously I'm interested in this. That's why I'm here.
Right.
And like cool homes. What's your favorite home, if I can ask?
Oh, my favorite home that we've ever built is the red brick house in Alpine, Utah. It's called Silo Creek. It was in
2020.
2020 Parade of Homes. That was the COVID year, so it was only virtual. You couldn't actually walk through it. But there's just something about that home. One, the clients were some of my favorite clients I've ever worked for, so that obviously helps that. But it's just the setting of that home. It was the first of its kind. It was kind of the first home in Utah that has brought back like red brick and then with black accents. Now you see them all over the place, and it was because of that home. It was the very first one. But yeah, that home is probably one of my favorites we've ever built.
That home is a head turner. Whenever I post something about that home, it performs so well. I will drop a link at the bottom of this video to a walkthrough of that home if you're interested to see it, because it's cool.
It was 5 years ago, and truthfully, I get a call about that home every single week. Still to this day, someone calls me, hey, what brick did you use? What color is that black paint? What wood did you use? Like, people love that home, and rightfully so. It's beautiful.
Beautiful home.
It's beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually think I've seen it.
Have you seen it? Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's probably like, I hate saying this, but it's probably one of the most iconic homes in the state of Utah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I agree.
I would say so. Obviously, going through the social media again, I saw a lot of cool homes, and it seems like you're definitely at the, like, you're leading the market in custom homes in Utah, for my opinion.
Well, thank you. I don't know if I think that, but thank you.
Okay, that's fine. I just think they're so cool. But how do you market your company in such a competitive space, especially in Utah, where there's a lot of custom homes from what I've seen?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna let you answer that, and I'll tail off what you say.
It's cool, like stepping into these shoes of being you're the marketing guy for Robison Home Builders. How do we do it? We try to create content that is super authentic to the experience of working with Robison Home Builders. So if you watch Kory speak on camera, I promise you, it is no different to when you speak with Kory in person. Do you agree with that? I think the way that you speak on camera is like, it feels like you're having a conversation with him. So you don't pump yourself up and you don't speak in a different way. It's very authentic to the company. And then it's just all about showcasing the really cool things that we do. One thing that I have loved coming into this company with fresh eyes is I'm like still a kid in Disneyland looking at everything we do. These guys, although there's still obviously a rooted appreciation for the work they do, can get lost in the everyday trade and work of it. And so it's really fun for me to come and like highlight all the amazing things that they do and bring energy to it, to be like, this is absolutely unbelievable. And the guy's like, wait, this is absolutely cool, like really cool to do. So I love highlighting all the cool things that we're building, all the cool things that we've built, while maintaining a true image of the company, of what it's like to actually work with us. Because that would be the worst thing ever if somebody reaches out to Kory, hey, I saw a piece of content, or I want you to build a home, and then when they actually work with Kory, like that dude is nothing like what I thought he was. So that's down to Kory being good on the camera, which we've worked on, which is great. And also just an incredible brand. It's easy to market when you have such a good thing going. So it's cool.
I like that. Now I'd like to shift into the kind of looking back and also looking forward. So what's your vision for the company in the next 10 years?
My vision is I don't want to grow much more. Mm-hmm. From 2018, when I kind of took the reins, when my dad, he was still my partner, he was still involved, but he kind of handed me the reins and said, hey, do what you want with it. We took off like a rocket ship. We went from when it was just him and I, we were running 2 to 3 jobs at a time, and now we're doing 9 to 12 jobs at a time. So I don't want to get any larger than we are. I just want to perfect our craft and perfect the experience that we can give our clients. Like Jack can attest, all my employees can attest, every company meeting, which we have once a week, I talk about creating an enjoyable experience for our client. To kind of go back to the marketing a little bit, like we can market till we're blue in the face. Jack can put a social media thing out every single day. And yes, it's going to put our name out there, but like if the client is still going to do their research, right? The client is still going to call people and ask around, hey, what was it like building with Robison or whatever? And like, if they talk to people and they're like, man, it was a crappy experience. Like I hate it. I would never use them again. Like, then we're, again, like I said, we're not doing a good job. And so my vision is just to perfect, and my goal is to perfect that experience and to perfect the process. So when a client is done, we're high-fiving. They're telling everyone that they know we loved building with Kory and his team.
Yeah, so it's kind of just like creating a legacy of like, okay.
Yeah,
I like
and I just creating an environment where people enjoyed building their home. I've said this to Jack. I've said it to a lot of people. It's like, man, you just spent $5 million on your home. You hated the 18 months of your life, and you hate your builder. Like, what a crappy experience.
Yeah, what
like,
a failure. Yeah.
Like, well, that's a failure. Like, we failed. And, like, what a crappy experience. You had to pay this guy a lot of money. You hated your life. And you're like, well, now I have this home. Sweet, it's beautiful. But the last 18 months really sucked.
Kind of just sours the experience for the customer.
Yeah. And I'll be 100% transparent, 100% honest. We have not been perfect at that. And I'm trying to make it, I try to make it perfect. I try to, remedy those situations, but we're not perfect in by any means. But so that's where I want to get to the point where we are perfect in that situation.
Awesome. And so talk to me about where you see the industry going for custom homes in Utah and what trends you think will either come back or fade away.
Custom home building in Utah is very interesting. Like, I've been here my whole life. Jack could probably talk a little bit more about it, coming not from Utah, but it's the custom home building in Utah is very competitive. And all my competitors do a great job. But so we've got to figure out a way. That's what Jack and I brainstorm all the time, is what can we do to set ourselves apart through social media or what it may be. But so yeah, I see custom home building in Utah to keep doing what it's been doing. Utah is a very up and coming state. Everyone is moving from Utah. I've talked to 2 couples this week that are looking to build homes in Utah. They're coming from back east, and they came here during COVID and they loved it, and they want to stay, and they want to now build a home. And so there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of growth in Utah. So I think the custom home building is just going to keep continuing how it's been. As far as trends, we're seeing it's so funny how it ebbs and flows. Like, I'm very intrigued to see what people say about our parade home this year, because our parade home is nothing like you've ever seen before. There's a lot of like dark woods and dark stain on woods, which you just haven't seen. It's the last few years it's been, light stain on oak or white walls and this and that. And like, I don't think there's a white wall in our entire house. It's going to be very different and unique, but I wouldn't be surprised in the next 5 years. That's what you kind of see everything kind of going back to.
Yeah, it's interesting, like thinking about trends and stuff, because like Kory said in one of your initial questions, when he's in the meetings with the clients right at the beginning, he's like, go design your home. Don't care what it looks like. We will build it for you. Like, we honestly don't have too much care for like what's trending and because we don't build cookie cutter homes, and we don't build, well, I mean, if that's what you like, then that's what we'll go for as well. But like, we don't care. We just build whatever you want to build. And I think that's really cool, because Kory hasn't subscribed to a particular style.
Yeah.
And if you ask, hey, Kory, what kind of home should I build? the next thing he'll ask you is like, well, what kind of home do you like? It's not like, okay, this is where it's trending, this is what's cool to build, because a home is just such a unique and like personal reflection of who you are. It has to reflect the actual person. And that's why working with the right designer and architect is so important. So yeah, trends are cool to look at, but honestly, we're like, yeah, we'll build whatever you want. And you'll see in our homes, we've built like from traditional farmhouse to modern farmhouse to ultra modern to Cape Dutch to like all these really different styles, and it's just a really good reflection of the homeowners and like the personality they have. Like this parade home is what it's like a modern cottage, right?
Yeah,
is that how
I don't even know
describe
what the
it?
style is.
It's like a modern English cottage, and it's you will not walk through a home that has more personality than in the parade this year than our home. I will die on that hill because this home is our homeowner and his personality come to life with our interior designers to a T, and it's just like perfect. It's so cool, but it's super unique.
Super unique.
Yeah.
Awesome. I like it. And so just to finish off, I want to ask some questions more about advice you'd give people. So like, what advice would you give yourself at the beginning of your career and to other people looking to start their own businesses or get into the construction industry?
Advice, it's still kind of silly to me that I have college students coming asking me for advice. Like, I'm just like, it feels like yesterday I was in your shoes trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to do with my life. But so it's humbling to, have these questions asked to me, because truly I feel like I'm still a child and a kid. And, but I think the advice that I would give them, if I could go back 10 years when I first kind of was getting started, I would say the number one thing that I would do was kind of figure out how to let go of the reins earlier. I feel like, and some of my early employees could probably attest to this, that I was probably kind of annoying. I would micromanage them. I would tell them every little thing I wanted them to do, and they didn't feel like they had the leniency or the freedom to kind of do how they wanted to do it. And then, as I got more employees, my hand was forced. I kind of had to do that. So it'd probably be that kind of, trust yourself, trust that you're making the right hire in your first employee, your second employee, that they can handle the tasks that you give them.
I like that. And then any advice you'd give to someone like me or anything else like that?
I'm such an advocate for hard work. Like, there's just nothing, and we've obviously mentioned this earlier in the podcast, but like, there is nothing that can replace hard work. Talent can't replace hard work. You can be the most talented person in the world, but if you don't put in the work, your talent is nothing. Like, I'm reading a book right now. It's called Relentless. It's by I'm a huge basketball fan, so it's by Tim Glover, who was he was like Kobe Bryant's trainer, Michael Jordan's trainer, and all he talks about is like, yeah, Michael and Kobe were awesome, but they were also the first ones in the gym every single day, and they were the last ones to leave every single day. So no wonder they're good. And so like I kind of take that to heart. I will always be the first one in this office or on the job site every freaking morning. And besides Rachel, who she comes into work late, so that's why she stays later than me. But I'm just kidding. She's my sister, so I can say that. But Jack can attest. Like, I'm usually the first one in the office, and I'm usually the last one to leave.
It's true.
Because like, I also feel like my employees see that. My employees see that like I'm grinding and I'm working hard, so like they probably should do the same thing. So I would just say, you can have all the talent in the world, but you got to work. You got to put in the work, and I think that's the hardest part of like, I don't want to, that's the hardest thing that the generation now has going against them. They struggle with the hard work, and so if you can work harder, you will always be miles ahead.
Awesome. Well, thank you for talking to me. That's all my questions for today.
Sweet.
I've learned a lot, and hopefully I'll apply it soon.
Yeah, well, dude, thank you. I appreciate it. Like I said, it's very humbling for me to have a college student come talk to me, because I just don't feel like I'm this like wealth of knowledge or anything like that. I feel like half the day I'm just like, what the heck am I doing? Like, what is going on? So yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate the insights.
Thanks, Seth, for coming and speaking with us. And yeah, it was an awesome conversation to have. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the RHB podcast. We'll be back in a week or two with another episode. But until then, make sure you hit subscribe, leave a like, and do all the things that will help us grow our channels. Thank you so much, guys.